Kyle Rudolph and his family are helping provide support during these uncertain times, and they're inviting Viking fans who are able to join the effort. Kyle and his wife Jordan on last Monday made a personal donation to Second Harvest Heartland that will provide 82,000 meals to Minnesotans who are being hit hardest by the repercussions of COVID-19 and such. Kyle Rudolph is our guest right now. Mr. Rudolph, nice job. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, Hawk. How are you?
Really good. Thank you for calling in.
Thanks for having me. Always good to chat with you guys.
Well, right before this, Kyle, we were just talking about social distancing and maybe golfing, and Sauce, of course, is your golfing buddy. And Sauce wants the courses back open. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a way for us, April golf in Minnesota is a rarity, and we'll have an opportunity this year with weather to open up the golf courses. I don't see why not. You can abide by all the social distancing rules. You don't got to touch the pin. You can stay away from each other. Sauce and I probably won't be able to ride in a cart together, but we can still have a good time on the golf course, and it's a way to stay safe.
Yeah, Sauce, are you willing to walk a course?
Well, yeah, there's some courses you have to walk, yeah.
And you're willing to?
Yeah, of course. One, I need the exercise, and two, as Kyle knows, my ball is going about 200 yards shorter than everybody else's, so I won't be near anyone.
Well, so wait, didn't they close down parks for kids?
I think so.
I think so.
I
That's
believe
interesting.
that's true, yeah. I believe they did, yeah.
I don't know. I'm losing track of what's open and what's not. I just stay home. So, again, not that different than pre-coronavirus.
Right.
Basically the same thing. Kyle, what are you and your family doing, though, during most of this time? Your ever-growing family. What do you guys do during the quarantine?
The biggest thing for us, obviously, is keeping the kids entertained. I think about a week and a half into this now, they're sick of being around mom and dad all day, every day. But thankfully, like I mentioned, we've had some good weather around here, so we've been able to get outside, take some walks, play in the yard, sidewalk chalk in the driveway. So for them, it's just about keeping them entertained. Obviously we don't have school age kids yet, so we're not really doing the whole homeschool thing. If we can keep them occupied with some activities, whether it's coloring, painting, tracing, things like that during the course of the day, that serves us far better than just letting them kind of run around bored all day.
Kyle, are you and most of your teammates preparing as if mini camps and whatnot are going to start in May and everything is just as normally scheduled for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, for us, you kind of have to. Obviously the circumstances are different, and you have to find ways to train at home. And but in terms of our schedule, to me, it's a lot like the 2011 schedule when the lockout happened. You didn't know when all of a sudden they're going to be like, all right, we're open. Come on in. Let's get rolling. So, for us as athletes, you have to find ways to keep yourself prepared. And no matter if we start in May like we normally do, or we go back in June or July, who knows? But when that time comes, you got to be ready.
Kyle, is there any sort of plan when it comes to the day that you guys are supposed to check in for phase one? Are there how are they going to keep tabs on you guys' workouts? Is strength coach sending out stuff that everybody can do collectively? How are they going to do that part of phase one?
So, most recently, as of right now, it's like facility shut down for the next 2 weeks. And then we're in constant communication with Uwe and Shug's, head strength coach, head athletic trainer, giving us kind of, guidelines, if you would, understanding that, not every guy has all the equipment he may need at his house. But if we can completely strip this back to the bare bones of what we have to do on a functional basis to kind of lay a foundation for when we do get back, then that's great. And if it's body weight exercises, jumping jacks, we have a little bit of an incline on our street in front of the house, and I use that. It's kind of about a 30-yard incline, so I'm able to do some running on there. And literally everybody's program is completely different. I'm fortunate I have a few pieces of equipment at the house, so I'm able to get some good cardio in. I just installed a tonal machine at the house, and it's basically every weight I would need in a whole weight room on this little machine on the wall. So I'm extremely fortunate to be able to have those kinds of things, but obviously that's not the case with everybody in the NFL.
How about your weight? Are you getting fat like the rest of us?
See, I feel like I've worked so hard this off season to keep my weight down, and actually I'm the lightest I've ever been in my career. So I can't let this quarantine just put me right back to where I was to end the season. So I'm working hard to try to keep that weight off throughout the quarantine.
Most importantly, Kyle Rudolph, Vikings tight end, joins the Power Trip Morning Show. But most importantly, have you watched Tiger King in the last couple of weeks on Netflix?
Oh, no, I haven't got onto the Tiger King yet. Trying to think of what we've watched on. My wife cheered in college, and obviously all growing up. So we watched that cheer documentary on Netflix. That was probably the most recent documentary that we watched. But I'll have to get into the Tiger King. I feel like I see it everywhere on social media.
Kyle, you're really close with Karl Anthony Towns. Have you heard an update about his mom?
Not more recently than the last couple of days. Obviously, she's in our thoughts and prayers, and I think Karl did an unbelievable job just kind of expressing the severity of this. Most of us, if we came in contact with it, would be fine and would continue on with our life as if we just had a little virus. But that's not the case for everyone. And I thought Karl did an unbelievable job kind of expressing to the world how serious this is. And obviously it's hit their family really, really close to home with his mom. And, we just keep Mama Cat in our thoughts and prayers and know that she's a really, really strong woman and she'll get through this.
Switching over to football news, you're obviously not in the building, can't be in the building, but you're following the news just like all of us. And the Vikings have been big time movers, I guess, this offseason. What is happening with my voice?
You're getting so choked up thinking about it. I'm so excited.
I know.
Yeah, right. It's okay, buddy. It's all right. You're okay.
But Stephon Diggs, you were there in the locker room this whole season, this whole off season. With the things that he was saying and doing and tweeting and putting it out there publicly that he was happy, and then I'm just kind of playing, and then he finally gets moved to Buffalo. How does it feel as a teammate to go through that, see the process, and then ultimately when you guys check back in, he's no longer your teammate and going to be in the huddle with you?
Well, obviously when you lose a player the caliber of Stephon Diggs, it's tough. Diggsy was a big-time competitor, probably one of the most competitive guys I've ever played with, a guy that I loved going out there and taking the field with because, I knew what I was going to get from him each and every Sunday. And, that's tough. Obviously it'll be a big void for us to fill. But with that being said, I have all the faith in the world in Rick and George and all those guys in the front office who are going to be able to take essentially 3 draft picks this year and make our roster better. So, we wish Diggsy well, and I wish him a ton of success. I'm glad he's in the AFC where we won't have to see him for a few years. I'm glad he didn't end up in a team that we'll be playing a couple times a year. So you wish him well, but like I said, I have all the faith in the world in Rick and those guys to take the overhaul of draft picks that we got for Diggsy and make our team better.
You got to like that they gave your quarterback a new contract.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy for Kirk. I mean, he takes a lot of scrutiny, and I've said this over the last couple of years. When you sign a free agent deal like that at the quarterback position, you're exposing yourself for that kind of scrutiny. The quarterbacks get way more credit when things go well, and they take way more blame when things don't go well. That's just the nature of that position. So, to see Kirk be rewarded for 2 really good years here in Minnesota and, our organization to stand by Kirk and say he's our guy moving forward. I know it means a lot to me as a leader in our locker room and to the rest of the guys on our team.
I know, by the same token, you got to be glad they finally got rid of David Morgan, though. I mean, let's just be honest.
Man.
I know, dude. How much do you miss that guy already?
No, Dave's the best, and he, even just this past year with Dave being banged up and not being around every day and not in our room every day, it's just a personality that you miss, but also a guy who, his play on the field is missed. He's a guy that does a lot of dirty work that doesn't get a ton of credit, and oftentimes the things that he does goes unnoticed. So we definitely miss Dave a ton, and a guy that I not only miss on the field but miss having around in the locker room and in the meeting rooms.
Well, I hate to keep bringing this vibe down because we're talking about guys that have departed. Another guy that sort of was the heart and soul of the defense, and a guy that you've been around your whole career with the Minnesota Vikings, is Everson Griffin. He's no longer on the team either.
I know. I mean, I think this year and my, going into the 10th season, I think back to early in my career and the kind of overhaul of our roster. I think this is the biggest one we've had in recent memory. Definitely the biggest one we've had under Coach Zimmer. There's going to be a lot of new faces out there. But with that being said, as I mentioned before, on the Diggsy trade, we have the utmost trust in Rick and Coach Zim and those guys to bring in new faces, bring in talent. And then as a guy who's been here for 10 years, it's my responsibility to kind of teach them what it means to be a Minnesota Viking and what it would mean to bring a championship back here. And that's all that we're doing. It's our goal to be the first Vikings team to win a championship. And yeah, it's their job to bring in talent. Then it's my job as a leader and a guy that's been here for 10 years to instill that in them and teach them what it means to be a Minnesota Viking.
So, Kyle, you made the personal donation to Second Harvest Heartland, but how can people help again if they want to be involved and donate as well?
So we have the links on both of my social media profiles on Instagram and Twitter in my bio, and you can hop on there. There's a website, Rudy's Meal Plan. We pledged the 82,000 meals, and in less than a week, Vikings fans and fans all across the country have already matched our 82,000 meals, and we're more than 25% of the way to our goal in 1 week. So it's been awesome to see the outpouring of support, and I know that Second Harvest Heartland is doing so much good stuff around here and in the Twin Cities community, and they're helping these kids who have the food insecurities because they're not able to get meals at school, and families who mom and dad aren't working anymore and they don't know where they're going to find a meal.
Well, that's great work, Kyle. And again, thank you for that. And please make sure you check and help in any way you possibly can. Before we let you go, I want to go back in time just for a second. I grew up right on the borders of Ohio and Indiana, but I played high school football in Ohio. You went to one of the football places to play high school football, and that was Elder, just in Cincinnati, Ohio, not far enough away that I didn't know everything about it. I mean, the one thing that I always heard, though, about your school was about your stadium. I believe it's called the Pit. Is that right? Was that the name of the high school stadium? And if I'm right on that, can you tell me what kind of pressure it was as a high school football player to walk into a stadium that big on a Friday night?
It was something that I grew up around. Since I can remember, Grandma and Grandpa take me to the Elder High School game on Friday at the Pit, and it's pretty crazy because when you think about a high school stadium, it's literally right there on campus, if you would. It's right across the way from the school, and it's a 12,000 seat horseshoe.
Yeah.
So it's a giant concrete horseshoe. It was in USA Today as one of the 10 best places to watch a high school football game. And actually one of the things that I'm really excited about, played a ton of games there and had a bunch of great memories. But this summer we're having Darius Rucker there for a concert and going to raise a bunch of money for the school. And, to have one of my favorite musicians outside of U-Hawk be able to play at my high school is something that I'm really, really excited for. And I'm glad with all this COVID-19 stuff that's going on, we were able to get that date moved from May 7th to July 17th and still be able to make that happen.
Fantastic. Well, again, check out all the social media channels for Kyle Rudolph and help out. And thank you for what you're doing, man. Thank you for your time, and can't wait to see you out on a football field again.
You guys are the best. It's always a pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks, Kyle.
See you, Kyle.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
There he goes.
I will not be participating as there is no evidence that charity works.
That's a bad attitude.
I hear what you're saying.
Should probably help out.
That's a terrible attitude.
Imagine
Just
playing
help him out.
as a high school football player, Ben, in front of 12,000 people.
No.
I mean, I was looking it up just now, too, as he was talking about it. It was called the Pit, and they built it in the 1930s.
Oh,
Okay.
so it really is just a concrete.
It's just an old 12,000 seat stadium, man. That's how important football is to that
I
field.
think that our state championship year, my junior year, state championship game, we had maybe 5,000.
Yeah.
No, maybe a little bit more than that, but it was a packed house, and that was crazy. I can't imagine twice that, more than twice that, on just a random Friday
Weekly
night.
basis.
Just for a Friday night football game.
Yeah.
Right.
God, how do you end up as humble as Kyle when you're basically a god since high school,
Yeah.
right? If you're that good
Well,
and
yeah,
for the
think about
12,000 people, you're big man on campus, you're like everybody worships you.
Then he puts on the gold dome and goes to Notre Dame,
Right.
and like
Right.
it's a big deal at Notre Dame.
But he's super chill.
Right.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Not a lot of ego on a guy that had a resume to basically have an ego if he really wanted to. But
Scored 1,000 career points as a center. in high school basketball.
Wasn't he going to go to Kentucky? Didn't he say that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he mentioned that.
Yeah, he's big.
Yeah, but he's lighter than he's ever been, he said.
Yeah, well, that's one of us.
Everyone
right.
else is going the wrong way during coronavirus. Rudolph's getting thinner.
Talk about the willpower during this shutdown. All I want to do is eat.
Speaking of that, Hawk, when we come back, how was that cake?
Dude, I could have eaten both of those giant slices I took home by myself. Luckily, I didn't have to. So good. I love cake. I love food.
All right, we'll talk to Tennessee when we get back to Brandon Molesky, the Common Man program, about his wife giving birth during coronavirus era and what that was like. Because it's not the same procedure for ladies right now as it normally is. We'll walk through that and congratulate Tennessee after this on the Power Trip Morning Show on The Fan.